7 Anxiety Symptoms That Should Get Your Attention. The way we think about anxiety and how to address it has changed dramatically in the past few years. This infographic highlights the most common symptoms and explains why you should pay attention to them. As a human, we all experience anxiety, but what are the specific symptoms you should pay attention to if you want to avoid a panic attack or worse? These are the 7 anxiety symptoms that should get your attention. 1. Panic attack is an anxiety symptom. Most people experience some form of panic disorder at some point in their lives. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, up to 25 million adults and 7 million children and teens in the U.S. suffer from panic attacks. For a majority of those with this condition, a panic attack is a one-time event. Others develop more chronic symptoms. When you're feeling anxious, your body releases a natural stress hormone called epinephrine, or adrenaline. It sends blood to your heart, muscles, and brain, making them ready to face whatever's coming next. But if you've been feeling anxious for too long, your body's release of epinephrine may also increase the activity of a different hormone called cortisol, which makes you feel like you're about to crash. That's when panic can kick in, and it feels just like a physical attack. The panic symptoms that appear in response to the adrenaline spike include racing heart rate, shortness of breath, muscle tension, sweaty palms, numbness in the face and neck, and a drop in blood pressure. 2. Fear is an anxiety symptom. When we talk about the anxiety and fear behind being afraid to try new things, we're not talking about the anxiety and fear you have when you don't have enough money to pay for something. That's a completely different kind of fear. This is the kind of fear that comes from knowing there's something potentially scary about a situation, but being unable to figure out what it is. If you can't see the downside of a new opportunity, you're likely to assume that it's safe. In fact, it might be a bit riskier than you realize. Anxiety is defined as nervousness or uneasiness that causes us to feel uncomfortable or worried. Most people associate anxiety with fear, but it can also be related to a number of other feelings and thoughts that cause discomfort, including worry, sadness, frustration, and anger. However, the anxiety we feel when we're thinking about something bad that might happen, fear, is different from the type of anxiety experienced when we're thinking about something that will actually happen, anxiety. 3. Nervousness is an anxiety symptom. Anxiety can be a symptom of a more serious condition. If you notice that your body is acting nervous, in fact, it may actually be acting overly anxious, then you should visit your doctor. However, there are certain situations in which a bout of nervousness can be a sign of a more serious mental health condition. If you find yourself feeling uneasy because of the way you feel about a situation, or if you are having trouble sleeping or thinking clearly, it might be worth looking into. Another word for anxiety is nervousness. Both are often associated with the same symptoms: a racing heart, dry mouth, and sweaty palms. While you'll likely experience all of those during a presentation, the difference between the two is a matter of intensity. Anxiety is intense and you don't know what will happen next. When nervousness strikes, you may have a hard time talking, making mistakes, or even remembering what you just said. 4. Stress is an anxiety symptom. A lot of us get stressed out all the time. But stress isn't just the emotional response to a difficult situation. Stress is a physical response to something we perceive to be dangerous or threatening. That's why people who are stressed tend to feel anxious, angry, sad, and frustrated. The more stress a person experiences, the greater the anxiety, anger, sadness, and frustration. The brain is a complicated thing, and it's important to understand how the various parts of the body are connected. The stress response is designed to protect us, but when the body perceives a threat, it will trigger a cascade of biological events. If you're constantly worried about something, your body will begin to produce chemicals, such as adrenaline, that trigger the physical reaction you feel when faced with a real-life danger. 5. Fatigue is an anxiety symptom. One of the most common emotions experienced by people who struggle with anxiety is fatigue, which refers to the feeling that you're not able to function properly due to excessive stress and worry. People who are fatigued also tend to feel overwhelmed and unable to cope with the situation at hand. The good news is that people who suffer from anxiety can learn how to manage their fatigue and alleviate their symptoms. It may seem like a daunting task, but it's simple to accomplish. It all starts with knowing what causes you to feel fatigued. When you feel fatigued, it can be because you are experiencing too much stress or anxiety. If this is the case, it will only get worse if you don't do anything about it. When you experience fatigue, your energy level starts to decline, and your ability to concentrate is affected. You start to become tired and find it hard to focus on the tasks at hand. If you feel like you have been in this state for a long time, then you are most likely suffering from anxiety. Anxiety is one of the reasons why you are feeling fatigued. When you feel anxious, your body experiences an adrenaline rush, which results in the release of cortisol, which is known to cause you to feel tired. 6. Sleep disorders are anxiety symptoms. Sleep disorders are anxiety symptoms. They're often accompanied by physical symptoms such as headache, fatigue, palpitations, and irritability. People suffering from sleep problems often find that their symptoms disappear once they've been treated. Sleep disorders often manifest themselves as anxiety, says Dr. Nanda. For example, if you're a person who wakes up several times a night for no reason, and you find yourself anxious when your body doesn't go to sleep at the same time you want it to, this is a classic anxiety symptom. It can also happen when someone is in pain but isn't sleeping, he says. Anxiety is a very real condition that can make it difficult to fall asleep and stay asleep at night. However, in most cases, anxiety disorders like OCD and panic attacks are much more likely to be treated than sleep disorders, which are typically treated with medication, behavioral therapy, or a combination of both. 7. Depersonalization is an anxiety symptom. For people who struggle with social phobia, the experience of depersonalization can take a number of forms. Depersonalization is a term used to describe an experience in which you feel detached from your own body, and therefore lose your sense of identity. It may also be accompanied by feelings of unreality. In general, these symptoms occur when you feel out of control or in a situation that you don't want to be in. You might even have an urge to leave or run away from the situation. If you notice any of these symptoms in yourself, you might be experiencing depersonalization. When a person is in extreme discomfort, the body reacts to this. The heart beats faster, blood pressure increases, and our muscles tense up to prepare us to respond in the face of imminent danger. But when the threat is not real, we tend to think this is what happens in response to high anxiety. In reality, the opposite is true. The symptoms of anxiety are simply the body's attempt to help us cope with a stressful situation. When people feel anxious, their bodies naturally become depersonalized. We become less sensitive to the things that usually cause us stress and more sensitive to other things. In conclusion, as you can see, there's a lot to learn from listening to your own body. When you notice your heart beating faster than normal, or feel like you're having a panic attack, it's time to listen to your body. This might seem like a scary thing to do, but if you want to have a better understanding of yourself, you need to take your health seriously. The first step is to make an appointment with your doctor and ask if you have any medical conditions that require treatment. The key to anxiety management is to find ways to prevent and manage these 7 symptoms. First, you have to recognize that you are dealing with a mental illness rather than an emotional or behavioral issue. Then, you have to understand why anxiety attacks happen. Once you know what triggers your anxiety attacks, you can do things to prevent them from happening. If you can't manage your anxiety on your own, seek help. Most people who suffer from anxiety disorders can benefit from therapy.